Girls!
Ugh, come on, Chris. Girls are terrible. They're always backstabbing and giving each other phony compliments.
Oh, wow, you are definitely not afraid of dessert.
You know, I wish I were secure enough to throw on any old thing and call it an outfit.
Come on, you have so much body confidence. I mean, who wouldn't with those strong legs? So muscular. I'm jealous of how thick with strength they are.
Hey, I like your tie.
Thanks.
We know how to be friends.
It stretches you so much further. Being good at one thing is easy. That, you know, most jobs are about being good at one thing, specializing.
Yeah.
Being an entrepreneur is a whole different game, and it stretches you in every possible way. And if you don't stretch, you fail.
So do you then think, so there's a couple of things. Number one, you didn't actually tell me how you self-develop. So
I read, I watch TED Talks. The kind of stuff that's on my YouTube feed is learning stuff. It's not cats.
Yeah.
It's not people falling off logs. There's an algorithm that keeps feeding you what you tend to look at. The things I tend to look at are the things that stretch my mind.
Interesting then. I just read, well, I say just read 4 books ago, this.
Yeah, I would wholly agree with that statement.
And it is so amazing because what it talks about many different things, but what it talks about is this attitude of entitlement that people feel they have. Oh, you know, I've got this degree, or I've got this or that or the other. I shouldn't have to do this menial task. And there's a phrase in there which ironically is kind of the motivation behind what I do in these talks. And it says, if you want to clear the path for yourself, help clear the path for others. And it's something, I read it and I went, oh, well, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to let people be seen on LinkedIn. So Guy, how do you expand? You're an old dog, a silver fox. What's the deal? What do you do?
Being the other side of 60, it's obviously
never.
It's quite fascinating. In Sydney, talking about people coming out of varsity, etc., and getting qualified. And when I meet an MBA, they always say, I'm an MBA. And I say to them, well, that means you're a master of bugger all. And they avoid and they walk to the different side of the convention center. But my self-development comes, and historically over the recent past, from development within talking with my clients, being exposed to them and their different insights, and picking up the different dynamics at the different types of businesses with the different types of strategies and where they are in their life cycle, and you pick up some commonality, but there's some subtle differences, and then you've got to shape up with the shifts and trends that are happening in the market relative to your client's business, so that keeps you on your toes, and that's part of my self-development. I suppose all the theory stuff, as we said earlier, I've done all that going back, so there's no ways I'm going to be doing the diplomas and degrees and certificates again. Those are all gone, because I believe there's something more to give. And as Chris mentioned, he moved from a high-paying, top-paying job, and he was a specialist. And I call it the T situation. We're all specialists at something, but then we have along the line, we've got to be generalists at all these other things that have got to fit in, and you've got to understand those, and you've got to have some people that guide you through it. Right up until 4 years ago, and I'm that side of 60, I had a coach myself.
Yeah.
Not regularly, but as someone I've known for a long time, that I could go and bounce stuff off because it was a ticklish situation or whatever. And it's just amazing. Chris and I are working together with a client who sees the value in both our different mindsets, our different approaches. We stretch, all three of us, to say the least. But that client is open-minded and realizes the different dynamics that are at play. And so that to me is self-development in itself. So that's how I get it.
Can I add something?
Please.
I think the most important self-development is understanding how human beings work, which school doesn't teach you.
No.
Right? And university doesn't teach you. I mean, you can get a degree in psychology, which would be a very good start. But this whole notion of ego, we have a very false sense of what ego is. I mean, everybody has an ego, right? Which is the constructed me that I think I am. And it's the persona me that I want to present to the world and the me that I think I want to be. And it's the me that gets so easily offended when someone challenges that me. But it's not the real me. It's just the constructed me that only works in the context while that context is still around. So I was the global COO of whatever.
Yeah.
That was the ego. A lot of that was the ego me. And I didn't even realize it because we're not very self-reflective. But when you begin to understand that your ego is in play, but it's not going to help you because it just wants things to stay the way they are, and it's quite fragile most of the time, you begin to unlock what's really going on in this human adventure we call life. And how do I unlock the most powerful me, which doesn't fear failure, doesn't fear critique, doesn't fear getting it wrong. It's a much more powerful me. And if there's one thing I wish they would teach in schools, and I don't even know if youngsters are able to even grasp it, maybe they're not, but this idea of what does it really mean to be a human being?
What would be your summary answer to that? Let me give you some context. When I spoke about this large idea I have, the question you asked, you said, what difference does it make? I said, well, it's going to make this, that, and the other. And then you said, no, what difference is it going to make to people's relationships?
Yeah. So look, I think we're alive at a very interesting time, insofar as the whole idea of a quantum reality has been around for nearly 100 years, right? But it's still not the mainstream way of thinking about the world. The mainstream way of thinking about the world is still quite Newtonian, a very cause and effect, right? Yep. And how do I control the causes, or force the causes to happen so that I can get the effects I want? What do I have to do to get what I want? So that I can be successful, rich, happy, famous. It's a very Newtonian, sequential, linear, binary view of life. But the interesting thing about the quantum understanding of reality is it's relational. That's the essence of it. Everything has its place, and everything has its place in the way that this plus that equals more than that. Egg plus flour plus, you're going to tell I don't do any baking here, right? But egg plus flour plus water plus something else equals sugar. A cake.
Yeah.
It doesn't equal the sum of the parts. It equals something different. And I think that's true for business as well, right? I call it the cogs in the box syndrome. People think, but I've got a marketing guy who's got all the marketing certificates, and I've got a sales guy who's got all the sales certificates, and I've got all the other guys, gals, who've got all the technical competencies, but it's like having cogs in a box and no Swiss watch. If they don't know how to play together, if they don't know how to relate, to work together to create something else, adding all the activities together doesn't get you to the end.
No.
Right?
No.
If you think about it, on paper, we're the most educated generation that's ever lived.